With the release of Wicked for Good in a little over 2 weeks' time, I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to talk about all the major live-action theatrically released Oz films as we move closer and closer to the highly anticipated film's release. And in this video, I am going to be talking about what is widely regarded as one of the most beloved and iconic films ever made, 1939's The Wizard of Oz, directed by Victor Fleming and stars Judy Garland, Ray Bolger, Jack Haley, Burt Lahr, Billy Burke, and Margaret Hamilton. Now, for the two people who have been living under a rock for most of their lives, the film follows young Kansas farm girl Dorothy Gale and her dog Toto, who, after being whisked away to the land of Oz by a tornado, must embark on a journey to the Emerald City and ask the Wizard of Oz for a way home, as well as the wishes and desires of three other traveling companions that she meets along the way. Although they have to contend with the Wicked Witch of the West, who will stop at nothing to obtain the ruby slippers that Dorothy is in possession of. And while this video doesn't go into the very troubled production of this film, I will say that, to cut a long story short, it is a miracle that this film got made at all. The film is, of course, based on the 1900 novel The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by American author L. Frank Baum, and the film rights to that book were sold to MGM after seeing the massive success of Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which proved to Hollywood that the fantasy genre can make for really great storytelling. And just like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, The Wizard of Oz is an incredible achievement in not only fantasy storytelling, but also musical fantasy as a subgenre. And not only that, but the film also works quite well as an adaptation of the book, which I got to commend screenwriters Noel Langley, Florence Ryerson, and Edgar Allan Wolfe for, as they kept what was needed and cut out what didn't need to be in there. And it makes for a pretty straightforward adaptation of the story. However, the writing would have meant nothing if the filmmakers didn't know how to properly bring the Land of Oz to the screen. And of course, as we all know, they succeeded with flying colours. The use of Technicolor in this film has rarely, if ever, been topped. And of course, we can see this from this perspective of Dorothy Gale. When she spends her time in Kansas, it's very sepia tone, almost black and white. And then when she enters the Land of Oz for the first time, in one of the most magical moments in all of cinema, she, as well as the audience, is met with nothing but bright colours. From the yellow bricks on the yellow brick road, to the sickly green skin of the Wicked Witch, to the sparkling green towers of the Emerald City, and the dark grey blueness of the Wicked Witch's castle. And that's not even to mention the iconic and sparkling ruby red slippers, which were originally silver in the book, but they were made red to make use of the Technicolor technology, and it is used to great effect. The visuals in this film are incredible, and it's all thanks to cinematographer Harold Rawson. The performances from the whole cast are incredible, of course, and iconic, but I want to talk about Judy Garland, who, of course, played Dorothy Gale, and this is the role that made her famous, and rightfully so. She perfectly portrays this innocent child who finds herself lost in this magical world, and you really feel for her as she goes along this journey. Ray Bolger portrays the Scarecrow, who is the first of Dorothy's traveling companions, and he's great in the film too. I especially love the physicality in his performance. Like, you can really tell that he put a lot into it, you know, so much so to the point where you actually believe that he is a man made of straw who is lighter than air, pretty much. Jack Haley portrays the Tin Man, who is the second companion that Dorothy meets along the way, and he's also great. Really, you could really feel that he has a very tender and kind soul in that tin body of his, and I love the way he moves around, the way he bats his chest, and you hear the echoes, and when he does this with the funnel during his song, and the steam comes out, that's really fun. And the last of Dorothy's traveling companions is the Cowardly Lion, who's played by Burt Lahr, and he's also great too. And even though it's, of course, a man in a costume, and I sort of prefer an actual lion, even though that's basically impossible, he does a really good job too. He really does sell the character's cowardice. Frank Morgan not only plays the titular Wizard of Oz, but he also plays a bunch of characters in the film. But he does a really good job in making them distinct from one another. Billy Burke is also quite good as Glinda the Good Witch of the North, but she doesn't have much screen time. And of course, I would be doing a major disservice if I didn't talk about Margaret Hamilton, who delivers an incredibly iconic performance as the Wicked Witch of the West. Hands down, one of the most iconic villains in all of cinema. Everything about her is just iconic, from her design to her cackle to the fly monkey she has, the instantly quotable lines, "I'll get you, my pretty," and stuff like that. She is magnificent. I also have this really cool figure of her, and if that doesn't tell you that she is my favorite character in the film, then I don't know what will. It's hard to believe that she only appears in one chapter of the original book. I also want to talk about the film's great use of foreshadowing at the beginning of the film, where we see Dorothy going about her life in Kansas. We see that she's surrounded by people who would later become those that she meets in Oz. And then when she makes the decision to run away and then meet Professor Marvel, is also really great foreshadowing of her journey to the Emerald City to meet the wizard. It is really great stuff. And speaking of great stuff, the songs, for the most part, are instant classics and beloved for a reason. Somewhere Over the Rainbow is just absolutely beautiful. And it kind of become the film's anthem in some way, which of course is a big compliment. And then you also have Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead, which is fun. And then you have the three songs that each of her companions sings. There's Scarecrow's If I Only Had a Brain, the Tin Man's If I Only Had a Heart, and the Lion's If I Only Had the Nerve. However, even though this film is one of my favorites of all time, no film is perfect, and I do have some cons with it. For one, I did say that most of the songs were great, but I will say that the last song you hear in the film, If I Were King of the Forest, isn't exactly great. And then there's also this moment.
You've always had the power to go back to Kansas. I have.
Then why didn't you tell her before?
Because she wouldn't have believed me.
Really, Glinda? She wouldn't have believed you? Come on. And my last issue is more of a personal thing, really, and that is the film's iconic status. Now, don't get me wrong, the iconic status that the film has obtained is valid and is beloved by millions around the world for good reason. But I do feel as if it has made other people more scared to adapt the book because think about it. How many adaptations can you think of The Wizard of Oz that has been more faithful to the original book by L. Frank Baum? How many? Exactly. And that's it with my issues. But overall, The Wizard of Oz is an iconic classic, and for good reason. Has enduring characters, incredible performances, memorable music, and a marvelous use of the Technicolor technology. It's regarded as one of the most beloved films ever made for good reason, and it's been constantly referenced in many other forms of media, which is still being done to this day, and it's understandable why. And that's it with The Wizard of Oz. I hope you guys like watching this. If you can consider leaving a like, that would be great. And if you can consider subscribing, that would also be great. Next time, I'm going to be talking about The Wiz from 1978, which should be really fun to talk about. So with all that being said, stay safe out there and cheers.